Okay, so we've all heard of Bitcoin. I mean, it's everywhere. But what if I told you there's another platform that wants to be so much more than just digital money? One that's actually trying to be the foundation for a whole new internet. An internet that we, the users, actually own. Today, we're going to break down Ethereum.
So how are we going to tackle this beast? Well, first, we'll look at how Ethereum is fundamentally different from Bitcoin. Then, we'll get into its secret sauce, the thing that makes it all work. We'll see how it's being used to rebuild finance and even the very idea of ownership. We'll touch on a massive recent upgrade, and then finally, we'll ask the big question: what does this all mean if you're thinking about it as an investment?
All right, so to really get Ethereum, you first have to understand what it's not. You see, it was created by a then 19-year-old named Vitalik Buterin, and he built it specifically because Bitcoin couldn't do what he wanted it to, which was run programs.
And this right here is the perfect analogy. Think of Bitcoin like a calculator. It is absolutely brilliant at doing one specific job: storing and sending value. It's digital gold, simple, powerful. But Ethereum, well, Ethereum is like a smartphone. It's not just one tool, it's a platform where developers can build and run thousands of different apps, creating this whole bustling digital world.
So how does it actually do that? What's the thing that lets you build basically anything on Ethereum? It all comes down to one core innovation, this kind of magic tool that's the building block for everything else.
And that tool is called a smart contract. Honestly, it sounds way more complicated than it is. A smart contract is just an agreement, like any other contract. The big difference is that it's written in computer code, and it lives on the blockchain. So, and this is the crucial part, it runs itself automatically. No lawyers, no bankers, no middlemen needed to make sure it happens.
You know, the best way to think about this is like a vending machine. Seriously. A vending machine is just a dumb, simple contract. If you put in $2 and you press button B4, then the machine is programmed to give you a Snickers. It doesn't need to call a manager for approval. It doesn't care who you are. It just follows the code every single time.
Okay, now imagine taking that simple vending machine logic and applying it to really big stuff. Imagine an insurance contract that's connected to flight data and pays you out the second your flight is delayed. No forms, no phone calls. Or a royalty contract that pays a musician the instant their song gets played. All of a sudden, you can see how these automatic agreements could cut out the middleman in, well, almost any industry you can think of.
And the very first massive skyscraper built with these smart contract tools is a whole new financial system. It's called decentralized finance, or DeFi for short. And yeah, it's a direct challenge to the entire traditional banking world.
I mean, just look at the difference here. Sending money overseas the old way, that can take days and cost a fortune. In DeFi, it takes seconds and costs a few bucks. Traditional banks are open, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday? DeFi never, ever sleeps. For a generation that grew up with everything on demand, this isn't just a small improvement. This is finance finally catching up to the speed of the internet.
But here is the real kicker for so many people. The average savings account in the US might get you, 0.4% interest? Maybe? But in DeFi, you can use lending protocols, which are just smart contracts, to lend out your assets directly to other people. And the potential yields there? We're talking 5, even 10%. It's just a completely different universe of financial opportunity.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about the second major application. This is the one that got all the headlines and, let's be totally honest, a ton of skepticism: NFTs. And we really have to look past the expensive pictures of monkeys to see the real revolution that's happening here.
This quote just nails it. So many of us grew up buying digital stuff that we never actually owned, right? Think about iTunes Music or skins in a video game. You didn't own them, you just had a license to use them. NFTs are the upgrade. They use the blockchain to make a digital item into actual, verifiable property that belongs to you and nobody else.
And the potential here is huge. Imagine an event ticket that is literally impossible to fake, or a sword from a video game that you can sell to another player when you're done with it. People are even experimenting with putting real estate deeds on the blockchain as NFTs. At its core, this is all about creating a single, universal registry for ownership of, well, anything.
Now, for any of this to work, for this new internet to actually become a reality, it has to be fast and it has to be efficient. And for a long time, that was a huge problem for Ethereum. It led to super high fees and really slow speeds. But that's been changing.
And of course, there was the biggest criticism of all, the elephant in the room, the insane energy consumption. I mean, you can't really build the future of the internet if you're boiling the oceans to do it, and the developers behind Ethereum knew this was an existential threat to the whole project.
So in September of 2022, they pulled off one of the most ambitious software upgrades in history. It was called the Merge, and they totally changed how the network runs, switching from that energy-guzzling mining process to a new system called Proof of Stake. The result? A mind-blowing 99.95% reduction in energy usage. I mean, it happened overnight, just gone.
And to put that in perspective for you, the entire Ethereum network, which secures hundreds of billions of dollars in value, now uses less energy than a single company like YouTube. This one upgrade basically solved the energy problem, period. Okay, so we've covered the tech. Let's wrap up by looking at Ethereum's actual currency, Ether, or ETH, as an investment, because it is a very, very different bet than investing in something like Bitcoin.
A lot of investors talk about ETH as a triple-point asset. What does that mean? Well, first, it's a capital asset. You can stake it to help secure the network and earn a yield, kind of like a dividend or a government bond. Second, it's a commodity, because you literally need it to pay for any transaction on the network. It's like the gas for your car. And third, it's a form of money, the native currency for this whole new Web3 economy.
And this is a huge but. Let's be super clear. This is a high-risk, high-reward game. Smart contracts can have bugs, and we've seen over $3 billion lost to hacks. When the network gets busy, those transaction fees can still spike, making it really expensive. The tech is still super complex, and the shadow of government regulation is always, always there. So that leaves us with the big question, right? Is this the actual blueprint for a more open, user-owned internet, powered by this new kind of world computer? Or is it just a beautiful, but maybe too fragile, experiment? The answer isn't clear yet, but you have to admit, the ambition is just undeniable.